It's not often that a random story about some quasi-celebrity, particularly a musician, would impact me in multiple ways and on multiple levels. This is one of those stories. Well, hey there, how are you? And hope wherever you are, you and yours are safe and well. And I came to tell someone else's story today. So give me a moment of your time. Let me set up the premise of what I'm talking about here and share with you the story of somebody I've actually met a couple of times in real life, albeit briefly, who happens to be a musician, an artist, a record label working kind of man out in the world. And here's my question for today. Do you know anybody that's famous in any regard? And have you ever had conversations with that person, be it an artist, a musician, an actor, whatever? Do you know someone who has touched that fame? And if I'm suspecting correctly, did they also achieve any level of fortune from it? Tell me in the comments below. So, many years ago, my wife became a big fan of a band called Shamans Harvest. We've seen them in concert several times, specifically in Syracuse, New York. They've been out there forever and a damn day. They've been working most of their adult lives as touring musicians. They've had a couple of one-hit wonder type of hits, right? They had a song out in the 90s, early 2000s called Dragonfly that was popular for some time. Sometime in the last longer than that probably, 5-10 years, they had an album come out that did fairly well for itself, and they had a song called In Chains that went up the charts a bit, and a couple little, minor pieces of airplay on radio and primarily on satellite radio. They're a working band. Good bunch of guys. We've gotten to meet them a couple times, kind of like, backstage pass sort of thing. You buy the meet and greet access. The point of this conversation is what came up in my field of vision, again, thanks to my wife, mentioned to me that the lead singer of Shamans Harvest, whose name is Nathan Hunt, put up a GoFundMe. And I thought, okay, what's he GoFunding me for? And it's for a surgery. And that kind of stopped me a moment and challenged all of these notions that I've had about this concept of getting wealthy or at least making a comfortable living as a musician, as a touring rock and roll musician, or whatever it is. It doesn't matter if it's R&B, it's hip hop, it's rap, it's country, it's rock, it's metal, whatever. But so to tell you the story briefly, Mr. Hunt detailed in his GoFundMe how many years ago, before he was a touring musician, he was a workaday guy who got hurt on the job, took a serious fall, broke his ankle, and never really recovered, and went through multiple botched surgeries and has lived 15 plus years in constant pain and never really got it addressed. And now that and actually I don't know how old he is, but I'm pretty sure he's not much younger than me, is finally reaching a point where he's come down so hard in his experience that he was seeking out a doctor to just go ahead and amputate and just be done with it because he can't live with the pain anymore. Fortunately, he found a doctor that was willing to also try one more surgery, one more new technique, one more new thing, and all of that equates to dollar signs and money. Well, right, most people have health insurance. Apparently, doesn't necessarily sound like the record label or the production company you work for doesn't sound like they necessarily cover you with health insurance. So you pay for things like that completely out of pocket. And if you're, and COVID-19 plays a part in this story because, again, these guys have been out there for a long time doing their thing, but the last year, this pandemic has ground their business to a halt. They can't go tour. They can't make money. I guess the only money they're making is if there's royalties, and who knows how those royalties are metered down to them from the record label. Who knows? It's it's convoluted, to say the least. And it made me stop and think about this notion I've always had that fame would equal fortune. And this stark realization I had that Nathan Hunt's situation reminds me that these are just regular people like me, and they're broke just like me. You know, there's not just money laying around in piles just because you've got some level of fame or notoriety, or you've had a couple of hits on the radio. Does not mean that you are set for life or comfortable. So it just makes me stop and think a little bit. If you would like to help Mr. Hunt get this surgery to improve the quality of his life, you can find his GoFundMe. Just search Nathan Hunt GoFundMe. You will see his story. We're chipping in $20 to help out and help this man who we appreciate the work he does. We are fans of the music that he and his bandmates create. And it's always sort of reinforced this notion of mine that somehow I was supposed to be living that life. Interestingly, I had this conversation recently with my father-in-law when he posted an article or a link or something about that band life, right? Living on the road, living in a bus, living in a van, going from city to city, night after night, not eating well, not sleeping well, just get on that stage and play that music, and once or twice a year get in a studio and hope that the record company likes what you make and whatever. And I commented and said, this is to my father-in-law, if not for your daughter, I would have pursued that ultimately dead-end life. And I would not have had the quality of life I have now. But I've always maintained this illusion and this belief that somewhere along the line I was going to become famous. And whether it was music or whether it was acting or whether it was radio or now YouTube for the last 5-6 years or something. I don't even know how long I've been doing this now. I've always chased this idea of fame because I've always kind of had this background belief that the fame would come with some degree of fortune. Look at these guys, man. You get their videos are all over the place. Their music's being played on the radio, so they've got to have had some kind of deal with a record company to actually get paid and earn money, right? How do you do that? I don't really know the ins and outs, but I know if you're somehow able to survive and subsist on a bus or a van going from city to city, that somebody's buying food, somebody's putting gas in the tank, somebody's buying clothes for you, and whatever. You got this money to live off of, and God forbid if you're actually a family person. I know a couple of the guys in the Shamans Harvest band are fathers, and they have families and kids at home. So that's even more like you're not just providing what you need to be out there doing your thing, but you're hopefully supporting a family in some regard, that's a whole other conversation about whether or not you're supporting your family if you're spending 8 months out of the year or 3 months at a time away from home, touring around, not seeing your loved ones. But I digress. Not necessarily the point of this conversation. But yeah, I think that'll do it for today. Thank you for spending a couple minutes of your time with me. I always appreciate it. Take care, and I will see you on the road.